Hello, my name is Kevin O'Rourke and welcome to the Inquisitorial Archive. Today I'll be reviewing Deathwatch, published by Fantasy Flight Games, the third of the Warhammer 40,000 RPG books. In Deathwatch you're playing a Space Marine, or Adeptus Astartes, who, for those who don't know, are superhumans that have been genetically altered and implanted with various new organs and bodily systems. They're also equipped with power armor, which is environmentally sealed, which boosts their strength beyond normal, and they are superior to humans in almost every way, but they stand apart from humanity. Deathwatch is a chapter unlike any other, in which members of other chapters, who are quite skilled xenoslayers or alien killers, they're sent to the Deathwatch to fulfill ancient obligations that Deathwatch is set forth. In the core book, they present some of the Deathwatch chapter, some of the core chapters, as well as a new chapter known as the Stormwardens. The Stormwardens were detailed 9 books by Games Workshop before this point, or even mentioned they were made up entirely for the setting. Their homeworld is Sacris, which is in the Calixis sector, even though there aren't supposed to be space marines there. They're extremely secretive. If you look at a map of the Calixis sector, you'll notice Sacris is there, and it's a forbidden world. The story behind it is that it is supposed to be off limits due to some form of plague. The Stormwardens, I'll give more details on them than the others because they're unique to the Fantasy Flight Games. The Stormwardens are very honor bound, they like dueling, they're quite good at single combat, but they're also quite focused on tank warfare. They're quite good at. They don't, however, know who their Primarch is, or even when they're founded. An event called the Nemesis Incident was instrumental in this. However, there are other chapters, more staple chapters, who you've seen since Warhammer 40,000 to start in most cases, although there are others in there. There are the Space Wolves, who are Space Vikings. There's the Blood Angels, who are a bit more angelic than some of the others, and they're quite nice, but they hide a hidden curse in the Black Rage and the Red Thirst, where they are effectively, in some respects, vampires. They do thirst after human blood. Then, as well as this, you have the Ultramarines, who are to be honest, they're the iconic poster boys of Warhammer 40,000, although they go, Games Workshop, and in this book as well, they go a little bit overboard with the Ultramarines, which it can be grating at times for myself personally, but I'm sure there's Ultramarine fanboys who are going to be more than delighted with their rules, and, you know, go nuts. We also are dealing with the Black Templars, which came more to prominence around 3rd edition of Warhammer 40,000. These guys are idealized psychotic crusader knights. They don't have librarians who are psychers, such as other chapters do, and they are very opposed to heretics. They're descendants of the Imperial Fist. So like the Stormwarden, themselves and the Stormwardens are the only 2 chapters who are not first founding chapters. They're second founding chapter. You also are looking at the Dark Angels, who are more mysterious and grim and solemn than some of the others. They're interesting. They have their own quite expansive background, much as the Space Wolves and the Ultramarines do. As well as this, who else do we have? I'm sure I'm forgetting someone, or am I being good at remembering? Let's see, the Black Templars, the Blood Angels, the Dark Angels, the Space Wolves, the Stormwardens, the Ultramarines. Yes, that appears to be everyone in the core book. Each chapter affects what advances you can take initially. Each chapter has its own table, which is quite nice. It's similar to the advanced schemes of Rogue Trader and Dark Heresy in that you pick your specialization and you go up to ranks, but there's also a general Space Marine advanced table, which is everyone has access to, a Deathwatch table because you remember it's a Deathwatch, and you have your chapter table, although the chapter is much smaller. For example, the Blood Angels get access to Trade Artificer because they stylize their gear more than others. The Space Wolves can get tracking higher and carouse. There's kind of Stormwolves that get carouse higher. The classes, they have a lot of the iconic classes. You have the Apothecary, who's going to need someone to heal people. The Assault Marine, who is who do equip with jump packs or close combat specialists. You have the Devastator, who's a heavy weapons guy. You have the Tactical Marine, who is flexible, somewhere in between the Assault Marine and the Devastator. You don't have the close combat weapons or jump pack or the heavy weapon. You're reasonably good at both. However, they have their own aptitudes in that they can share their chapter mode abilities if you pick the right ability, or they can specialize in just bolt weapons in general. We'll talk about chapter modes later. You also have the Librarians, and the Tech Marines. Librarians are Psychers, who we've talked about in previous episodes, are mistrusted generally. However, because you're a Space Marine, it is different. You are trusted by and large almost, except the Black Templars. Many others don't trust you, but the Black Templars, it is said there swiftly, the Black Templars who are sent to the Deathwatch are less, they're told to behave to a point, as are many people who are sent to the Deathwatch. In theory, it's an honour as to whether some chapters use it as a dumping ground on the sly, but you're not going to be accepted unless you have the skills. And you have the Tech Marine, who are both Space, they're in two worlds. They're both Space Marines and they're also Tech Priests of the Priesthood of Mars. Each of them has options. By and large, you can choose a anti-individual ability or an anti-horde ability. For example, the Devastator, when he uses full auto or flame or blast weapons, the Devastator can do D5 extra magic damage against a horde, which we'll talk about because they're new to Deathwatch, so we'll talk a little bit briefly about them. By and large, the equipment is scaled up. Note on the equipment is scaled up compared to the previous games because they introduced the notion that they introduced as far back as Dark Heresy, but it wasn't in 40k background before this point, that Space Marine bolt guns and Space Marine power armor are different. The core book only lists a quill armor. The handy part about it is though that each armor has an armor history, which you roll up. They have a table in the core book for this, which could mean the armor is machine spirit because the armor could have a personality, or could be inscribed with runes with images that might make your character more vehemently opposed to different groups. It gives it a bit more character. Your armor has character. Your character is an extension of the armor is an extension of the Space Marine, which is pretty cool. But getting back to the note on it, they did release errata quite short, a while after they had released the game. They went a little bit overboard with some of the weapons, and the bad guys don't last particularly long, so they reined it back. So rather than you getting 2d10 plus 5 damage and as Terry, so you're actually rolling 3d10, picking the two best, plus 5 damage, you're rolling 1d10 plus 9, and it's supposed to be tearing for bolt guns, which is more than enough. They've got they're listed as optional, but you'll see some of the later on books. Everything's kept in line with them, gear wise, and the bad guys' weapons have been tooled up because some of them don't work terribly well. The psychic powers have changed. They're quite similar to Rogue Trader. You're getting your psi rating by 5, adding on to doing things. However, they really rein back in sustaining psychic powers, which was a bit of a problem in my mind in Rogue Trader, so they did a better job with it here. Still not 100% happy with psychic powers. I still haven't seen the psychic power system, which I love for Warhammer 40,000. Dark Heresy, probably the best mechanically. However, how they do the powers, I still have my gripes with. But hey, you end up, when you're sustaining psychic powers, you have to spend half action. So you spend half your turn sustaining, which means that while you're sustaining the psychic power, you're using half turn every time. Every time. You do as well, instead of taking one off your effective psi rating, you're dividing your effective psi rating by the amount of powers you are now sustaining. So that really, instead of before I was saying, oh, you have like 9 psi rating and you're using 2 psychic powers, like you're always sustaining 2 psychic powers, so your effective psi rating is 7 for the moment. Now it's effectively 3 and you're spending half action. So that really tones back. However, I've seen players get to a certain level, they're having fun with their library, they get to a certain level and they realise, I just totaled the encounter. That actually happened, and a player just countered my character, in their own words, they said, I feel my character's overpowered, I'm not having fun with him. And not everyone likes playing Deathwatch, that's the thing, not everyone likes playing Space Marines because you're so powerful, you're extremely powerful. But a lot of people do, and I have to say, to be honest, initially I was really against, I didn't like the idea of Deathwatch. It's not that I didn't like the idea of role-playing Space Marine, it was role-playing a Deathwatch Space Marine. Because like, why can't it just be build the system and have so that you're all playing the one chapter? But the advantage is Deathwatch kill teams are small and they're from every chapter, so your friend loves Space Wolves and your other friend loves Dark Angels. They can both play, and the differences between the chapters and the chapter opinions really brings strength to the game and can encourage some great role playing. I've seen some fantastic role playing. For example, a friend and I both made random roll up chapters, which are things. He used the system along with the GM to play the tabletop army he had created quite a long time ago. I just went completely with the dice, and our chapters, his chapter, they didn't like stealth at all. My character's chapter were extremely aggressive, like close combat as well, but used a lot of stealth operations, so it was dishonorable to use stealth to him. And they also had a Raven Guard who were extremely focused on stealth operations and covert operations. But seeing the interactions between those characters was good, especially because they actually formed an extremely strong bond, even to the point where my character was making jokes about it at his own chapter's expense, because their bond had grown so enough, not to be insulting to his own chapter, but to highlight, yeah, we've got these differences, but we've got to the point where you can overcome them. Now, some of the big mechanical things that because you've got your unnatural trait strength, which is really making you dangerous in close combat. You've got your natural trait toughness. You've got your power, which makes you just... Many attacks are just going to bounce off you. Like a guardsman, a regular trooper shoots a lasgun at you, he's not going to hurt you. Even out of your armor, he's got a solid chance of not hurting you. But the system gets really good when you get to the solo modes and the squad modes. Now, every chapter has its own solo mode. Like Space Wolves, they're supposed to have senses like a wolf, so they get additional they can re-roll the perception for free, perception based tests. So awareness, scrutiny, search, or I think search might be based on, but they get re-roll perception based tests. This is the point. Later on they get unnatural trait perceptions, makes them even better, and they get all these additional bonuses. They're really good at this. Whereas the Ultramarines get bonuses to talk, they get bonus to talk members of Imperial Navy and Imperial Guard, because they're iconic ones, they're respected and all this, and they get bonuses to the group's cohesion. Things like this. And there's the Universal Codex ones, like you can really temporarily just push yourself beyond normal limits and get additional bonuses to your strength. They're just very different ones. They're quite good, works out well. The only drawback is using these in solo mode cost cohesion, because you're supposed to in squad modes, because in squad modes you're supposed to work together, which is the whole point of it. Squad modes are fantastic. I was lucky in the second game of Deathwatch I played in, like the second campaign. Our group, we had a small group of 4 people, so we initially just started, we hit upon a way of doing things. We had taken the Oath of Glory, which the oath you take for a mission, because when you get a mission you get your primary, secondary, tertiary objectives, plus there's additional objectives you don't necessarily know about, and the GM doesn't even tell you at any point in the game. And you go off and you do the mission, and you choose your oath, and the oaths have different effects. Like Oath of Glory was one we took because you get extra renown, which I'll explain later. The way it worked out was well, because we decided we've got to go to this world, we've got to defend this world, and it's under attack by these aliens, and the aliens are all over the place, and we've got multiple objectives, so we're going to have to be quick about this. Because of the terrain, we decided, hey, instead of actually picking a vehicle, the Assault Marine already has a jump pack. Why don't we all requisition jump packs? So the Librarian got a jump pack. He's a Flesh Tear Librarian, by the way, so for those of you who know what a Flesh Tear is, he is scary. I talk about him in a future stage in a different video. And there was the Assault Marine, the Argent Templar, and my character was the Obsidian Wolf, completely random rolled up chapter, who was a Tactical Marine. And we had another Tactical Marine who was a Raven Guard, more focusing on sniping. My character was more focused towards leading and different things. But by using the solo modes, we used Furious Assault. 3 of us were fairly, the Assault Marine Librarian were quite close combat focused. Not Librarian as much as the Assault Marine. The Assault Marine's job is meant to do it, but and my character wasn't bad at it, so we started using Furious Assault a lot. Our characters and how we started doing it just started bonding and clicking, and we just started using the abilities, and we were hitting stuff tremendous, like above our belt, and we've continued to do this. And the GM's actually he's actually had to up the danger of stuff to a point, like, and we were like, yeah, no, it's okay, because our group is actually just, we're doing stuff that you wouldn't necessarily expect a group of the same rank to be able to do. You have the ranks going up, much like the other games, as I said, but you've got the squad modes from your oaths, as well as this. There are different ways you can get different oaths. The main one is if you have a tactical in the group and he didn't choose the Bolter Mastery ability, which boosts his abilities with bolt guns and heavy bolters and things like that. If he chose Tactical Mastery, he can share his squad modes, which he can attempt to share with a command test, attempt to share his chapter squad modes. My guy from Duran Rob chapter was an Ultramarine successor, and he ended up, although it wasn't guaranteed, he ended up with the Ultramarines, I think it was the attack pattern, lead by example. Which meant he, although it's not the best one, like there are ones that are better for specific things, this is just an example, he gave bonuses of, initially it was a +5 to all tests to everyone else in the group. I could give one of them a free reroll. At this stage, because once you get a certain rank, it doubles the bonus, and it's equal to your fellowship bonus. At this stage, currently in the game, my character's giving a +12 to everyone in the group, to whatever they're doing. You're trying to dodge, plus 12. You're trying to make a willpower test to resist something, plus 12. Got very scary. But using the abilities, you can really, it's a real force multiplier, and it's great, and it helps you actually how these characters work in small groups. But that's enough about solo and squad modes. You also have the hordes mechanic, because your characters are so powerful. Yeah, the individual guardsman's not going to hurt you. Somebody in Essential might hurt you because he's got a vehicle, or the Orc Warboss or an Orc Knob might hurt you, but the average Orc even, he's got a slim chance of you. So how they do this and get you the feel of smashing through loads of guys and doing devastating damage is they use the horde mechanic, where they take some of the weaker guys, and instead of having wounds and things, they have a magnitude, and you start tearing through the magnitude. The magnitude is an abstract way of doing it. You get bonuses to hit them. It works as almost like one individual. You get a bonus to hit the horde depending on size. Usually it gets additional damage and potentially do additional shots depending on size, and there's special horde only traits, which suddenly means, yeah, one guardsman isn't that scary, but the magnitude 30 horde of guardsmen can be quite scary, because that could just be 30 guardsmen, but that's the 30 guardsmen, and they've got like 3 heavy bolters in the group, and they've got a plasma gun in the group, and a flamer. They've got these different weapons, and they're all firing en masse. They don't get 30 attacks. They get the 10s bonus, for example. In close combat, the guardsman is geared towards close combat, but you have different traits, like with the Orcs, they get the overwhelm to make you even more dangerous in close combat, which give an additional D10 to damage. It really starts stacking up there. So if your horde is 20 or higher, you get an additional 2 D10 bonus damage. Really starts getting scary. So you can start dare a concern through sheer weight of numbers, but you really feel, because you're cutting down large numbers of them, you really get that sense of feeling of, yeah, the guys are quite powerful. The book is quite good. You do have other elements in there. You get your adventure in the back, which is pretty much standard with fancy flight stuff. And the details on the setting. It's set in an area of space called the Jericho Reach, which has been cut off from the rest of the Imperium for quite some time. It was part of the Imperium about 4,000 years ago. The Deathwatch have always there for some mysterious reason, which is gone into in later books. There's a warp gate near the Glixus sector. Bring them in. You see the introduction that you haven't gotten to have in the RPGs so much, except for in small elements like Gene Stealers. You haven't gotten to see Tyranids and Tau, which are 2 alien races native to the Glixus, to the 140,000 in the Eastern Fringe. This is the warp gate connects one side of the galaxy literally to the other. The enemies of man don't know about this, so the Imperium is funneling through loads of forces on a crusade to reclaim this sector, which used to be so prominent, as well as make sure that nobody else gets through. Later on, Tyranids have shown up. So by the default start game, it started before several events like the Badab War have happened. So those of you who really know your background notice will have certain effects. For example, you could have astral claws that are coming, which is dealt with in a later book. It works out pretty well, because you have an excuse for why this is not a normal sector. You have an excuse for why you have so many Deathwatch going on, and you've watched Fortress Ariok, and you've different watch stations, which is important. Your main goal is killing Xenos. The main 3 enemies you're going to be dealing with are Tau, Tyranids, and Chaos. You're dealing with Chaos forces such as Martyrs and Chaos Space Marines, but it works out pretty well. I have a few gripes. There's a bit of pushing some factions a bit too much, particularly once they bring out the errata in the core book. They're really pushing you to have, and just the Ultramarines outstripping everybody towards being command. They can get their command up to +20, which affects your cohesion, which affects how many squad modes you can do effectively. They're affecting your their squad modes. Like I said, the lead by example one is great. There are ones, like there's London ones that are better for close combat, but it's just fantastic because it's good for everyone all the time. So it's a great one to have going. And they can get their command up to +20 from just their chapter advances, whereas everyone else has to wait to rank 2 to get command trained. You start with a train if you're a tactical marine, of course. But yeah, and the big thing I have a problem with them is they get Exemplar of Honor. Exemplar of Honor means you spend a fate point and you get your fellowship bonus as to your cohesion. Everyone else can spend their fate point and they get a 1 cohesion. I don't have a problem with them getting this. That's fine. I have a problem with that other chapters, like in my mind the Imperial Fish should be able to get it. The only other people who get it, I've looked through the books, the only other people, now please correct me in the comments if you know otherwise, the only other people who get Exemplar of Honor Blood Angels, sanguinary priest. You have to be an apothecary. I have to be a Blood Angel and you have to specifically be a sanguinary priest to be able to get Exemplar of Honor. And all Ultramarines can get it, which is a little bit much for me. The Space Wolves got a big buff in the errata. They all get counterattack for free, which my theory is because on the tabletop their squads have an ability called counterattack. Everyone said they decided, oh, we've got to give them the ability called counterattack, even though it works a bit different. Later on, one of the other books, they get an additional squad mode which works more like how it's meant on tabletop. Instead of counterattacking, the mechanics of the core rule book is just somebody attacks in close combat, you can attempt to parry to block the attack, and then you go in, you attack with, you can, with a -20, if you successfully parried, you can try and hit the guy back. Later on, they can be, I can't remember what it's called, counter charge or something like that, where when the space was being charged, they can use this squad mode and they can go and charge it, hit the other guy instead. It's like, hey, cool, no problem with that. As well as this, they're able to get Flesh Render for 500. I don't mind the Flesh Render for 500. Flesh Render 500 is an ability which makes you better with tearing weapons like chainswords. The Blood Angels could get it. Space Wolves do a lot of assault. I don't mind them getting it. The counter attack is, it's a little bit much in my mind. I could see why they might have put it in. I don't entirely agree with it. I certainly haven't changed any of my games. But that's, overall, I think it's quite a fun game. I initially was hesitant about it, but it's definitely paid off for me. I felt it probably gotten to a stage where we're overdoing a bit with it. But I like it, it's fun. I definitely have no problems recommending to people. Once more, the rules are more based on Dark Heresy, although I've moved them along a bit. They're the only war and the Black Crusade rules come later. Generally, they're a lot tighter, a lot better. And I'm going to be doing a review on Black Crusade next. And later on today, although I'm not doing a review on Only War, I'm certainly going to, I ran on my first session of it earlier today. I'm going to just talk about the session things. I'm not ready, I haven't run it enough and I haven't read the book enough to feel confident about doing a review on it. I want to give you my honest opinions on it, both good and bad. But I'll certainly give you what I've assessed so far from just running the game. Positive so far, which is a good thing. A few negative things. But hey, can't get everything. Well, I hope to see you later. I hope you found this informative. And goodbye.